Morning, everyone. So, basically, I'm not an educator as well, I'm a student. And I'm going to be speaking about the future of higher education. And the funny thing is I'm 20, and I'm speaking about the future of higher education. So, the thing is, the world has changed a lot. We can't, it's true. 50 years down the road, let's say 60s, maybe even 20 years down the road, if you want to send someone a message, 11,000 miles away, you're going to need to send a physical mail. Fast forward a few decades, and when Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy, it was a touch of an email button. That's how much the world has changed. And let me show you a picture. If you look at this picture here, we see a picture from a classroom from the 18th century. And if we fast forward to the 21st century now, and we look at a traditional classroom, nothing has changed much. But the world has changed a lot. Let me give you an analogy here. So let's say you're going for a meeting. And you're based in Patalinjai and you have a meeting in KL, which starts say at 10 p.m. At 10 a.m., sorry, 10 a.m. What time are you going to leave your house? You're probably going to leave at about 7, maybe 8, because you're going to need to anticipate for traffic. Maybe a car's going to break down the road, you're going to get a punctured tire, you're going to need to leave early. It's because you always need to plan ahead to ensure once you reach, you're going to reach your destination in time. And similarly with education, you need to plan ahead. When you go for your undergraduate degree, for your tertiary education, you need to make sure when you graduate, you're going to have a position, there's going to be a need for your degree. Let me see why I say this. The US Department of Labor Studies says that 65% of today's grade school kids will end up in a job that hasn't even been invented yet. 65%. And if you look at our traditional classrooms today, they're still pretty similar. That's why, at Minerva, I'm actually part of this new startup university called Minerva. A lot of professors from Harvard and Stanford have come together to start this. And what we do is we use the online technology as a tool. Remember, Minerva, many people call Minerva an online school, but we're not. We use the online education as a tool for teaching students better. Let me speak on it further. So, as my cue cards say here, universities must evolve, universities must change with time. And if we keep on being traditional, our classes, we are not going to create innovators. Because the world is changing so fast that our education needs to innovate as well, so that our students can become innovators. Now, I'm going to be speaking on 4 parts today. This takes a bit of time. Okay, this is the 4 parts which I'm going to be talking on today, on what a 21st century education should be like. Number 1, it should have innovative academics. It should have global immersion, accessible admissions, and an international community. Now, what do I mean as innovative academic? I'll speak on it further later. Let me touch on it a bit. Global immersion. So now the world, physically the world has remained the same size. But if you look at it in a different perspective, the world is actually much smaller. We have Facebook, connects us with literally thousands of friends. You meet someone from one event today, you're going to be keeping in touch with them. Many people will be friends with their high school mates till the day they kick the bucket. The world is just so small. And traveling has become so easy. Skype is so available, it makes long distance relationships much easier nowadays with Skype. The world is just so small. And that's why with global immersion, we think education shouldn't just be restricted between 4 walls of a campus. A 21st century education should put students in different parts of the world, because we need to get the experience of what different cultures are like, what different people are like, because even though the world is so connected now, people are still different in different countries and different regions of the world. And we need to give students global immersion. Next, accessible admissions. In the previous talk we spoke about, Ms. Marina spoke about how we need equality and all. We need to give every student an equal chance. A lot of traditional universities, especially in the US for example, they have quotas, where only certain amount of international students can get in, and most, about 60, 70, 80%, or maybe even 90% in some university students, must be domestic students. We shouldn't do that. Everyone should have an equal chance. And when you give everyone an equal chance, you have an international community where most of your students are international students. You might be in a US university, but majority of students will not be from the US. And that's what the future of higher education should be, giving everyone an equal chance to a top-notch education. So, what about education only? When we spoke about innovative academics, I said I'll expand more on it. Since the world is changing so much, do you think, I mean, basically I'm trying to say you should think, we should teach our students not only knowledge, but we should also teach them a few skills. And in Minerva, they believe a 21st century education should teach you these 4 kinds of skills. They come into 2 buckets. Number 1, under personal skills, you have critical thinking and creative thinking. And under interpersonal skills, you have effective interactions and effective communications. So with personal skills, you develop yourself. But once you develop yourself, you also need to communicate better. 2 weeks now, about a week ago, I was in Indonesia for Asia Pacific Student Forum. And we had a project on how we could improve poverty in this place called Ramia in Indonesia. And I said it's education. But you also need to teach people education, personal skills, so they can develop better. But you also must give them that skills where they can communicate better with people. And not only they'll be able to communicate with people better in Indonesia, but also in the world. And that's why you need an international community as well. So, you just get people better involved. So, how does Minerva, I'm going to use Minerva, the university I am here today, as the gold standard on what the future of higher education should look like. How does Minerva teach you those 4 skills I mentioned? Number 1, there are 4 different subjects in your first year. It's a liberal arts education. It's similar to what you might get in your Harvards and your Stanfords. It's an accredited university. Your first year, all students, you say you want to do engineering and you want to do computational sciences, every student has to sit for the same 4 subjects in the first year. What are the 4 subjects? Multimodal communications. So what you learn in multimodal communications is dance, literature, how to communicate better. And what does it teach you? How to communicate effectively. And then you have complex systems. What does complex system teach you? It teaches you how to interact better with the audience. How to gauge, is the audience enjoying what I'm speaking about, if they're paying attention to me. That's complex systems. And then we have formal analysis, which I really struggles terribly. It teaches you critical thinking. It's full of maths, statistics, data analysis, computer programming. I just didn't do well there. And then we have empirical analysis, which is a lot of your natural sciences, and that teaches you how to think creatively. So these are the 4 subjects which Minerva uses. Now, Minerva teaches you, the skills. They give you knowledge as well. But how do they do it? How do they give you all of this? They give you global immersion, they give you an innovative academic, but how do they do it in a cost-effective manner? If you're going to provide something for people, but if you're going to charge them $200,000 US or $60,000 US per year on tuition, people can afford that. Mass amount of people in the world will not be able to afford it. So how do we do it? We use an online platform. Minerva doesn't have a physical classroom. Minerva doesn't have a physical campus. Minerva uses their city as their campus. So what do? They create partnerships with locations throughout. Your labs, you will go to a proper lab in the city. Your libraries are actual libraries in the city. Your clubs and societies, you will have your own clubs and societies, but if you want dance classes, you'll be going to an actual salsa dance class, for example. That's real world example. And that's putting individuals, even during their college time or their university time, the experience of already being in the outside world. And you don't get that in any other university, in a 4-wall campus. That's why the future of higher education needs to give students the exposure of what the world is like. So, let me show you all this 5 minutes video of Minerva's active learning platform. A slight teaser. Each class in Minerva is maximum 18 students, because you don't want too little because it's not going to be diverse. Too much and not going to get enough participation. Every student has an equal chance to take part. It's built in-house by a team of engineers from Silicon Valley, now of course working with Minerva. And let me show you how it works.
The Active Learning Forum is the unexpected learning forum, the place where you're constantly engaging with what you're learning.
I think people expect it to be unnatural, maybe a bit futuristic and incredibly different experience than a normal classroom. And in many ways it isn't. It's the same.
As a Minerva student, I get to take classes from anywhere in the city. I think it's a great opportunity to constantly keep your learning experience fresh and exciting.
I was pleasantly surprised in my first experience on the Active Learning Forum. It's interactive, very dynamic, very fast-paced.
Everyone agrees that higher education could be much better than it is today. Minerva is acting on that by putting together state-of-the-art technology and superb pedagogy.
What we're going to do today is use a very complex problem, how to feed the world by 2050.
One of the great strengths of Minerva is the Active Learning Forum, which is informed by the science of learning. The secret to active learning is engagement.
Do you agree or disagree that the 5 solutions will be sufficient to solve the world's food problem?
We have at our fingertips tools that are designed to engage the students 100% of the time.
Now we're going to do a poll. Pick your best answer and be prepared to defend it.
I do agree that the other parts of this poll were valid.
Active learning is being an important part of your own education, challenging ideas, and coming to your own understanding.
It means that I'm constantly accountable. I feel like when you characterize a problem, it's important that it helps guide you to the solution.
Perfect, that's excellent.
I feel like I'm in a room with all of my students. I simply forget I'm on the computer.
You will be going into breakout groups. In each of your breakout groups, you will get assignment.
In a normal classroom, there's people behind you, there's people to the side of you, but it's nice to be able to see everybody and their reactions to what's being talked about in class.
You are Group A, you will be the Minister of Agriculture.
Yeah, agriculture, let's do it.
What does it mean to increase the food supply? So it means decrease food waste.
So for example, if we reduce the amount of grazed land and transition.
All of Minerva's classes are taught in the seminar format with a maximum of 18 students. I know each one of my students better than I knew students when I taught in a major university.
Hazik, you're shaking your head. What do you have something to add?
Well, I think the first solution that immediately comes to mind is...
The classes are designed so that you actually have more interaction with your professor.
It's a very open, dynamic, and friendly relationship.
It's the kind of learning where we're an active participant instead of a passive recipient. Both the student and teacher are engaged in not only dialogue, but debate and role play. And it's so much more fun than a traditional class.
What is really powerful about the forum is no student is in the back row. The professor can simply look at the screen and call on the students who are not participating as much and bring them into the discussions.
Let's hear from Guillaume.
I think that the purpose of the incentives...
My favorite part is that the professors are able to watch the recordings of the class, which means that they can give you very specifically tailored feedback.
The technology really helps professors get more quantitative and qualitative data about how a student's performing across all classes and use that in office hours.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, Dean Chandler, thanks.
Good. Did you have any?
I thought it was the students who had to put effort into reaching out to the professor, but here the professor was taking a really, really active role. And I think that was a function of the technology we used.
We have technology. We have knowledge about how the mind works. We can do things with education that have simply never been possible before. And that's what we're trying to do at Minerva.
We are the only school in the world that uses the science of learning to design not just what we teach, but how we teach it. It doesn't get better than that.
I'm here at Minerva because I want to be a part of an important movement to change higher education.
The fact that Minerva students live and study together adds another dimension to the classroom. Having that human interaction really strengthens the online class experience.
Our education needs to be dynamic, it needs to be interactive, it needs to prepare us for the needs of an increasingly complex world.
I feel part of an incredible community.
So I've spoken to you about the academics, I've spoken to you about the online platform, but remember, the Active Learning Forum is only a tool which we use. A tool to make education, number one, cheaper, and number two, we believe more interactive, because students are actively engaged throughout. There's a part in the video where the professor says she knows the students more now than she knew in a traditional classroom, because you're always speaking to them. And then you have office hours as well. So you're always interacting with your students. So now, I've spoken to you about the education, the active learning platform. What about global immersion? So in Minerva, students travel to 7 different cities over their 4 years. Minerva. Remember, Minerva is an accredited university, American degree, American education. So when you travel to 7 different cities as well, you're still doing a Minerva education. You're still getting an American degree. You're not going to a different university. Your first year, you're in San Francisco, Minerva's home base. Your second year onwards, you have 2 semesters a year. Each semester, you change country. So your second year, you're in Berlin, and then you're in Buenos Aires. Your third year, you're in Bangalore and Seoul, and your fourth year, you finish off in London and Istanbul. So that's a Minerva experience. Global immersion, actual global immersion. And when you go to each of the cities, your city is going to be a campus. Your labs are going to be actual labs that real life people go into and work at. It's not going to be a university lab where things are pre-packed or anything like that. It's going to be an actual real life lab. And not only do they take you and put you in these 7 different cities, it keeps getting caught, but they also give you location-based classes, location-based learning, location-based projects. What do I mean? Now, I can't speak for the other cities, but I can speak for San Francisco because I've only completed my first year. And in San Francisco, our location-based assignment for one of the subjects, complex system, was solving the homeless problem. So we think of San Francisco, we think Silicon Valley, Facebook, Twitter, Tesla, Google, huge. But San Francisco is one of the largest homeless population in the United States. Why? So, in your location-based assignments, for example in complex system, you understand what's the cause, how do you solve the problem, and how do you prevent it from happening again. And that's what education should be about. Giving you the knowledge and then putting you in real-life examples and actually making you involved in it. And not just San Francisco. I'm going to be doing the same thing in Berlin. I'm going to be doing the same thing in Bangalore, Seoul, and all the other cities. 7 different cities over my 4 years. You're going to be doing your location-based learning. Now, we have talked about location-based learning, but how do we let individuals have an experience of this? More individuals having a chance of experiencing an education like Minerva. Now, let's not lie. Minerva is very, very selective. Okay? A 21st century education might not necessarily need to be selective, okay? But it should be equal. The reason Minerva is the most selective university in US higher education is because they want to set a gold standard. They want to set a gold standard so more universities in the future would follow what Minerva is doing. In fact, I think it was just a few months ago an article came out that Harvard Business School has now started their own online platform. So it's already happening. So it's not so much the future of higher education, but it's education right now. So what does Minerva do? Yes, we are very selective, but Minerva has absolutely no quotas. What does no quota mean? Any student from anywhere in the world that puts in an application into Minerva has an equal chance of getting admitted. What does this mean? Minerva doesn't care from which country you're from, they don't care which gender you are, they don't care how much your parents can donate or if you're that good at sports. It's completely merit-based. Let me give you an example. Several or most all traditional US universities, when you put in an application, which I'll show you in the chart later, they'll have a quota. For example, 60% or so, I think I said it earlier, actually I'm repeating, or 90% need to be US students. And then you have students which are in sports, students whose parents take part in, give money, alumni. In Minerva, no. Every student in the world has an equal chance of getting in. And how do you get into Minerva? Well, you put in an application, an online application. Minerva doesn't accept SATs, they don't accept ACTs, they don't accept any pre-written essays. Why? Because some students can get people to write the essays for them and have a higher chance of getting in. That's why we have a lot of organizations in Malaysia that do that for you. Minerva doesn't accept that. The application is done online through your computer at your home. How do they make sure it's you doing it? They turn on your camera, they turn on your microphone, and you sit for your exams. The first step is an application form. It takes about 25 minutes to 30 minutes. It's free. Several universities charge a $75 processing fee. $75. You apply to 5 universities, you do the math. I was not very good at formula analysis. And Minerva, it's free. They don't charge for application. Then you have an assessment, several assessments, IQ, EQ tests. You view your accomplishments, your transcripts. They will contact your school to confirm. And then it's the video evaluation, where there's a question and answer, and then they give you an essay topic there and there. The moment you see the essay topic, you've got 10 minutes to write your essay. I mean, it doesn't need to be a 1,000-word essay, it can be 250 words. but it's completely you and we know it's you. And that's when you give everyone an equal chance. Not a person whose parents have a bigger bank account where they can hire people to write the essays for them, no. But an individual's capability, completely based on that. So, this is the chart I was talking about. Let's look at Yale. 8.87 of their students are domestic students. Just look at that. Minerva, in fact, in their founding class, we had 28 students, 14 different countries. The next batch of students, we had 128 students, 48 different countries. So it's about giving everyone, every student, an equal chance. I mean, to be honest, I don't think the Americans are that smart to be overpowering the rest of the world completely that much. I mean, not just the Americans, we have Oxford and Cambridge there as well. And if you just look at the percentages, this is not an international education. This is not giving anyone a fair chance. A 21st century education should give everyone an equal chance. Now speaking about, oopsie doozy, yikes. Can I go back one slide, please? Sorry, 2 slides. There we go. Cost. Minerva doesn't have any residence hall. I mean, they have a residence hall. They don't have a campus. So it brings down a lot of cost. Professors don't get tenure. So, they don't just come, they get a tenure, and then they go to do research. A lot of universities do that. Minerva doesn't allow that. So your tuition is only $10,000 US. Most universities, the Ivy Leagues, you're looking between 45 to 70,000 US. Minerva is set at 10,000. And then, of course, you have your housing, your student services, your subtotal, and your estimated cost is 28,000. To be honest, it's less than that. And the thing about Minerva is it is one of 6 US universities in the world that is completely internationally need blind. What is internationally need blind means? That means any student that gets accepted into Minerva will work with you one-on-one and private and confidentially to set a financial package. So you can even get a full financial package. Let me give you a short story, running short of time. One of the students from Philippines, okay, she was very open about it, and she wanted actually quite financial aid, and she got full. Minerva paid for a flight, they paid for a computer, they paid for tuition, they paid for housing, and to cover up for food and all, she's doing an internship with Minerva in San Francisco. Now, take that one person and multiply it by 70. That's the amount of students that's getting at Minerva. Because Minerva, as they promise you, is internationally need blind. Any student who needs financial aid gets it, provided they get into Minerva. And that's what I have to say about Minerva and the future of education. So before I end on the last note, education is something we all take very important to us. It's the fundamentals to our future, basically. But what I'm saying to everyone here is that the world has changed so much that we need to be open to change, even when it comes to education. And whenever I speak about online, I speak about Minerva to a lot of people. I refrain from using the word online, because when you use the word online, people get scared. But we need to be open to change for the better of ourselves, the better of our kids, our grandkids. I mean, I'm far away from that, but you need to cater to the audience. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much and have a pleasant day.